Welcome to the MeidasTouch Podcast. We are live, folks, and we are just a few hours away from the State of the Union. We are doing our brother podcast early. That will be taking place right now from 6:30 Eastern to 7:30 Eastern, or 3:30 Pacific to 4:30 Pacific. And then we will have a separate pre-show that will go right into the State of the Union. And folks, we've got some great guests that are lined up. In just a few minutes, we will be joined by DNC Chair Jamie Harrison. We will be joined later as well by Congress member Eric Swalwell and Anthony Scaramucci. But we are joined right now by DNC Chair Jamie Harrison. Let's bring in Chair Harrison. Is he around? Hey, how are you?
Look at that.
Hey, fellas.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Hey, listen, it's been too long. So
Way too long.
It's good to see you all. And Jordy, congratulations, buddy, on the new one.
Thank you so much. It's been a whirlwind, and we're so happy to have you back. I'm so glad we're able to make this work.
Yes.
So let's get right into it, Jamie. What are you looking to hear from President Biden tonight during the State of the Union?
Well, tonight I am looking forward to seeing the Joe Biden that I see out on the campaign trail every day. I'm looking forward to seeing the Joe Biden who I saw pray with the families at Mother Emanuel. The Joe Biden who is working day in and day out to protect our democracy and to stand with our allies abroad. I'm looking forward to seeing the witty Joe Biden. I'm looking forward to seeing the Joe Biden who's just going to take it to these extremists right now in our country, because he's standing up for all of us. So I'm looking forward to seeing that person, and I know we will. And I have no doubt that this president is going to deliver tonight, because you know what? He's been delivering time in and time again. They're playing checkers over there while Joe Biden's playing chess. I am just amazed at how much we have been able to get done. But we've been able to do it because of just the greatness and the wisdom of our president.
One of the things that I've been hearing over and over is the Democratic Party, and I'm seeing it in action, is the party of freedom. The Republican Party, which I don't even think exists anymore, it's just full Trump, full MAGA, is the party taking away freedom. Can you speak to not just that messaging, but in actuality, that's what the parties represent?
Yeah, listen, in the most simple terms, this election is all about our freedoms. It really is. Today is the 59th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. And for folks who don't know, Bloody Sunday was where the great John Lewis led a march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge in the name of freedom, in the name of justice. And on that bridge, so many of our heroes were bloodied and beaten. Dogs were sicked on them, but they stood tall. They looked evil right in the face, and they kept marching. So, I look around today and I see these MAGA Republicans that are just fixated on rolling back the clock on all of the freedoms that we gained, like the ones that John Lewis marched for. And it reminds me that, I often remember as a kid, I thought about what would I have done during the civil rights movement? Well, hell, we are in the civil rights movement of our time right now. This election will decide whether our kids will have less freedoms than their grandparents did growing up. It'll decide whether women can get the health care that they need, whether families can decide when and how to grow their families. So it's on us to protect our freedoms. And that starts with reelecting President Biden and Vice President Harris and defeating this MAGA movement once and for all.
Look, the D in the DNC had always stand for Democratic National Committee, but the D seems to stand more for even just democracy now. Democrats being the party of democracy. And these conventional labels of, okay, you got Democrats, liberals, progressives. On the other hand, you got Republicans who are conservative. I don't know. That paradigm doesn't seem to be really fitting the moment we are in. It seems there's pro-democracy represented by the Democratic Party. And then there's this MAGA, this wannabe Putin authoritarianism with the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Lauren Boeberts, the Donald Trumps, the Matt Gaetz, the Lara Trumps. We'll get into that in a moment. But what do you make of that framing, because I still see so much on the media. They're talking about a paradigm that just seems outdated.
Yeah, they really are. And we have to understand that this Republican Party, there's something Jim Clyburn often would say to me when I was a young staffer. And I believed in it, and I think he believed in it up until this moment. And I think Donald Trump has really changed things. He used to tell me, even though Democrats and Republicans, we take different paths, hopefully the destination is the same, right? A better America for all of America's people. And you can have different ways of getting at that, right? Some ways are better, some ways are smoother, some ways have more bumps and curves in the road, but ultimately the hope is to get to that destination. I no longer believe that, because when you look at Donald Trump and these MAGA Republicans in the House of Representatives, in the United States Senate, these folks are fundamental threats to our democracy. And we're seeing the litmus test right now for Republicans play out every single day. Just today, Byron Donalds came out and said that he would not accept the outcome of the election if Donald Trump doesn't win. What the hell is that? We know why he's doing this. He's doing it because in order to be a member of today's Republican Party, in order to be considered to be Donald Trump's vice president, you have to kiss the ring. You have to fall in line, even if that means putting Donald Trump ahead of our democracy, but most importantly, ahead of our Constitution. And we're seeing it in the way that Congress conducts its own business today. This is the most do-nothing Congress in history, period. Full stop. And it's because they're taking orders from Donald Trump, not following their oath of office. That's the reason why the bipartisan border deal, toughest, fair set of immigration reforms in decades, that's why that all fell apart. It is a scary time. And, we often think about, well, our system was built to be elastic, to stretch enough and to shrink enough in order to accommodate the whims of the day. But I don't know, if we don't put the right people in office, you cannot expect today's Republican Party to check the authoritarianism that is exuding out of Donald Trump. This guy,
Donald Trump also
on day one.
Donald Trump also picking family members to lead the RNC, Lara Trump to become the co-chair of the RNC. I want to show you this clip of Lara Trump saying that she thinks that Republican voters want her to divert the money from the RNC to pay Donald Trump's legal bills. Play the clip.
You think paying for President Trump's legal bills is something that is of interest of Republican voters?
Absolutely. That's why you've seen a GoFundMe get started. That's why people are furious right now and they see the attacks against him. They feel like it's an attack not just on Donald Trump, but on this country.
Your response?
I don't know if you all know, I am the number one supporter of Lara Trump. I never thought I could find somebody who I wanted to be the RNC chair more than Ronna McDaniel, but I now have found that in Lara Trump. I want her to spend every single penny they get into Donald Trump's legal fees. Go, Lara, go. You are so fantastic. Your vision is so great. Spend it all on his legal fees. Just spend it all. And in the meantime, I'll spend all the money that we have on building the infrastructure, continue to have the biggest voter protection program that we've ever had, making sure that our state parties are funded so that they can get the message out on how Democrats have delivered. I'll do the things that a party should be doing instead of spending money on legal fees or books or whatever.
And just like that, a rare moment of bipartisanship here on the MeidasTouch Podcast, with Chair Jamie Harrison and Lara Trump agreeing to the same mission, that Lara Trump should spend all the RNC money, every single penny, as Lara Trump says, on Donald Trump. I love to see that sort of bipartisanship here, Chairman Harrison, on the show. We were speaking about the darkness before that we see from the other side, and how important these upcoming elections are, how crucial the next few months are going to be to the fate of the United States and the very system, the very bedrock of our democracy. But what I want to know is, through all that darkness, we're inundated with darkness, right? Every single day. I want to know, Chairman, what still gives you hope?
I love going out around the country. I just got back from Texas, literally just got back from Texas. and was with some folks there. And, the thing is, the spirit of folks of never giving up, continuing the good fight, to standing up and not being silent in the face of all of the bigotry and the hatred and division. You see like what's going on in North Carolina right now. The selection of Mark Robinson, this guy who's homophobic, who called the LGBTQ community folks filth, someone who's nostalgic for a time when women didn't have the right to vote. Somebody is even saying that black folks need to pay reparations to other folks, and that they're the reason why they were enslaved themselves. But and this is the guy who Donald Trump called Martin Luther King on steroids. It's crazy. But despite all of these, I'm a big comic book fan, all of these villains that we see, people still have hope, and they know that, America's best days aren't behind her. This whole "Make America Great" thing is a great again thing is hoo-ha. But America's better days are ahead of her. And we understand that, and we know that. But in order to ensure that happens, we got to stand up. Dr. King has this quote from the letter from Birmingham jail that I say all the time that lives with me. He said, "We will repent, not merely for the hateful words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people." So the good people of this nation stand up. Women have stood up and said, enough is enough. You are not taking away my right. You are not, we are not going to beg Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott and the likes of those folks about what we can do with our own bodies. We're seeing young people stand up in terms of fighting back against climate change. We're seeing folks standing up in terms of the gun violence in this country. And we are seeing leaders like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris being at the front of the line, fighting for those freedoms and rights of people. And so every time I'm with the president and the vice president, they give me hope, because I know they get up every single day, not thinking about political paybacks and retributions, but thinking about how do we make America the best it can be for all of America's people, regardless of your race, your background, your religion, who you love, or how you identify yourself. That is the stuff that gives me hope. And I believe that those 80 million people who came out and voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and they voted for hope in 2020, in everything within me, says that those people are going to come out once again and double down on that hope.
Mm-hmm. And Chair Harrison, as we head into the State of the Union tonight, what would you say your final message is to the American people, the pro-democracy coalition out there?
Well, one of the things I think is important for us to understand that we can't be bystanders in fighting for our freedom. We can't think, oh, well, what is just the Democratic Party doing? Or what is Joe Biden doing? Or what are the MeidasTouch brothers doing? Like, everybody, we have to be active participants in this process. If you love freedom, if you love democracy, if you love this country for what it is and the prospect of what it can be, then you also have to participate. You got to stand up. You can't just wait on somebody else to do it. When I ran for the United States Senate, I didn't know I was going to run for the Senate. I was sitting on the couch with my wife watching the Kavanaugh hearings and watching Lindsey Graham rail. And I said to her, and I turned to her, I said, you know what? We got to find somebody to run against Lindsey Graham. And she sat back and she turned and she looked at me and she said, well, aren't you somebody? Folks, we're all somebody. And we have to, even when we know the odds are tough, even when we live in a red state and we know they have gerrymandered it to hell, we have to stand up. We have to fight back. We have to let them know that hell no, you won't take my freedoms. Hell no, you won't destroy this country. We're going to do all that we can to push back against that. And when we collectively do that, there is no force on the face of this planet, Donald Trump, MAGA Republicans, or anybody that can stop us. We showed it in 2020, and let's show it again in 2024.
And let's have Lara Trump also run the RNC.
Yes.
While we're
Give it to her for life, a lifetime appointment.
Let her become emperor of the RNC. Jamie Harrison, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, everybody. Y'all take care now.
Absolutely. I want to talk about some other news today on the legal front. By the way, I love Jamie Harrison.
I love the
rock star.
passion.
Oh,
I mean, thank you to Jamie Harrison for coming on the show and for that preview and for those words. I know I feel fired up. You know how excited I am for the State of the Union, brothers. I flew to Washington, D.C. for the State of the Union, and I am thrilled to be here. But we got
Brett's
a lot to talk about.
tradition, just for everybody watching. So you know, Brett flies to Washington, D.C. every State of the Union to watch it from a hotel room.
Yeah, that's Brett's favorite thing.
That's exactly it.
It's just like when he went to Vegas during the Super Bowl, so we could watch it from the hotel.
Watch it in the Vegas hotel.
So I'm close. You know what's funny? As I think now to my past, I do this a lot. When I studied abroad, not to get totally off topic, when I studied abroad in London, I went to an Arsenal football game. However, I watched it from a bar next to the stadium instead of watching it at the stadium. I don't know what it is, but I'm here. I feel the energy here in Washington, D.C. I am a stone's throw away from the United States Capitol. I am happy to be here, but we will talk more, but I'm going to toss it back to Big Brother Ben.
We also have Congress member Eric Swalwell, who will be joining us in a little bit. We have Anthony Scaramucci, who will be joining us
pod tonight, folks.
In a little bit. A star-studded pod. We've got lots of guests on the show. And then when we get into our pre-coverage as well, we're going to have the second gentleman of the United States, Douglas Emhoff, is going to be joining us as well. And we have senior advisor to President Biden, Anita Dunn, who will be joining us as well.
Stacked guest list tonight, folks. Ben, do you remember this from the old video game Super Nintendo? Big money, big prizes.
Big prizes.
I love it.
I love it.
I said this to Jordy before the show, and he said he did not remember that. I said Ben will definitely know it.
A little before my time, and Brett did say you would definitely know it. And
I said Ben will definitely know it.
Well, and watch this transition. If you want to talk about big money, big prizes, I love it. Not coming from Donald Trump, because Trump apparently does not have the big money to post the bond, not just in the New York Attorney General's civil fraud case, where it's $464 million when you add the pre and post judgment interest, but also in the E. Jean Carroll case, where it's a measly $83.3 million that Donald Trump has to post in the form of a bond. I thought you're a billionaire, dude. I thought Alina Habba said you got this money, just it's everywhere. It'll be super easy to post a bond. So Donald Trump has been like filing motions and letter briefs with federal Judge Lewis Kaplan, who he was attacking over and over again, saying, please, Judge, please stay the enforcement of the judge and help me out, because I've been so nice. I've been so good in this courtroom. And it's not like Donald Trump like provided evidence why he should get this stay. He didn't provide evidence of the efforts that he made to try to go and obtain a bond and what the actual fees would cost. He just said, trust me, bro, Kaplan, trust me. Just help me out here. You know how we do. And Judge Kaplan said, no, I don't know how we do. Denied. And Judge Lewis Kaplan said, Mr. Trump's current situation is a result of his own dilatory actions. I will not be staying the enforcement of the judgment. Go find the money. I thought you're rich. So ordered. Denied. And so that happened moments before we went live. And then quietly, I'm doing a whole separate hot take on this. Donald Trump's been bringing in some new lawyers in this case now to deal with the appeal, because I think Alina Habba didn't do that good of a job there, Alina Habba. Folks, we've got a lot to discuss on today's show. Again, we have Congress member Eric Swalwell, who will be joining us soon. We have Anthony Scaramucci, who will be joining us soon. I want to take our first quick break of the day, but do not go anywhere, because we've got a show that is filled with some great guests. Let's take our first quick break of the day. Did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Inspired by NASA, Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long, using silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA, Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature all night long, so you get better sleep every night. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. Miracle sheets are the perfect gift for your spouse, friends, or family. Who doesn't want better sleep and luxurious feeling bed sheets? And since these come with 3 free towels, you get 2 gifts in one, just in time for the holidays. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas to try it today. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Save over 40%. And if you use our promo Meidas, MEIDAS, at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas and use the code Meidas to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40%. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Meidas, trymiracle.com/MEIDAS.
I've been trying to save money for a while, but it seemed like my bank account was stuck. Thankfully, I heard about Rocket Money and gave it a try. It turns out I had a bunch of subscriptions that I was paying for that I just completely forgot about. Rocket Money helped me cancel some of them, and now I'm finally starting to see my account balance going up. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. With Rocket Money, I have full control over my subscriptions and a clear view of my expenses. Now, I can see all of my subscriptions in one place. And if I see something I don't want, Rocket Money can help me cancel it with a few taps. I love how their dashboard shows me this month's spending compared to last month, so I can clearly see my spending habits. Plus, they'll help me create a custom budget and keep my spending on track. Rocket Money will even help try to lower and negotiate your bills by up to 20%. All you have to do is submit a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money, well, they take care of the rest. They'll deal with customer service for you. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/MeidasTouch. That's rocketmoney.com/MeidasTouch. rocketmoney.com/MeidasTouch.
Welcome back. We're live on the MeidasTouch Podcast. Brett is in a hotel room in Washington, D.C. That's how excited he is.
Let's do a live poll. Does
Live
everybody
poll.
else Does everybody else not fly across the country to a location where something is happening, stay in their hotel room, dress up in a suit, and watch it on YouTube? Is that I thought this was just like what everybody does for big events. And so now I'm here. Now I feel like a fool, quite frankly.
I wouldn't feel like a fool. You look great. I mean, you're doing the podcast, and it's a big night. It's going to be a big night for the network. We have some just amazing guests tonight. My TV's going off in the back. I'm trying to play it cool, not draw attention to it like I just did. And then I'm just super stoked. Tonight is amazing. And just a reminder for those folks out here. So this is our pre-coverage. This is the MeidasTouch Podcast live right now. After this, we'll be directing folks directly to our pre-coverage of the State of the Union. So don't go anywhere. This is a star-studded, action-packed, filled pro-democracy, hour by hour, MeidasTouch Podcast, MeidasTouch Network night tonight.
I'm having fun, y'all. I'm having fun.
Well, it's going to get much more fun. We've got Congressmember Eric Swalwell. Then we have Anthony Scaramucci. So a little bit ago, I had the opportunity to speak with Congressmember Eric Swalwell. We had a great interview, and now we're playing it here for the very first time. Here's my interview with Congressmember Eric Swalwell from moments ago. We are joined by Congressmember Eric Swalwell on our pre-coverage of the State of the Union. Congressmember, welcome.
Hey, Ben. How you doing?
Doing really good. So tell us, what do you expect to hear tonight? What do you want to hear tonight?
The president has to lay out the freedom agenda and make sure that it lands in a way that it's in such sharp contrast of Donald Trump and what he would again bring. So it's financial freedom, having breathing room in your personal finances. It's healthcare freedom, making sure that we protect Obamacare and expand it as we bring down the cost of insulin and other prescription drugs. It's body freedom as that continues to be under attack with this quest for a national abortion ban. It's the freedom to breathe clean air as we work to make sure that we take on polluters and we reduce emissions. It's freedom to go home from school safely as you think about your kids and wanting them to be safe from gun violence in their classroom. It's freedom to vote and have that vote counted in a democracy. All of those freedoms are at stake, and he needs to be the freedom president, and we need that to come out tonight.
And with the Democrats talking about that they are the party of freedom, President Biden saying that we are the party of freedom, it stands in stark contrast to this. This is from earlier in the day. MAGA Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, was asked a very simple question: that do you see standard IVF practice as murder? Do you see standard IVF practice as murder? Here's the clip, and here's what MAGA Mike had to say.
But there's this question of embryos. In the process, they are destroyed, disposed of. If you believe life begins at conception, fertilization, and I know you do you see that as murder?
It's something that we've got to grapple with. It's a brave new world. IVF's only been invented, I think, in the early 70s.
Sounds like yes to me that he thinks it's murder.
IVF was, recently invented. No, it's 50 plus years old. This is a war on families. It's a war, for women. It's a war on motherhood, and he crazily believes it's murder, and he won't bring a bill to protect IVF. And we've tried in the Senate. Senator Tammy Duckworth tried to bring legislation to protect it, and they don't want to protect it because. Again, they have waged this war on families. We just need to make sure that families understand that, we are going to protect, that freedom, the freedom of family. I mean, they're all on the line here. And typically you're told you got to run on, only the economy. That's the only thing that's going to matter. We've never seen so many freedoms under assault. And if there was ever a time to put those freedoms front and center, including the economy and financial freedom, it's this State of the Union.
Yesterday, you called out the MAGAs in the House of Representatives who intentionally killed a bipartisan border deal. And you said, look, it's very clear why you all did this, even though this was negotiated by one of the most conservative Republican senators that there is, who led the negotiations, gave you the wish list of everything you claimed you ever wanted at the border. Donald Trump told you to kill it. And you said, it's pretty much Occam's razor. I mean, Donald Trump is saying this to you to do it and then taking credit that you killed it. Here's the clip of Donald Trump, one of many, where he takes credit for killing a bipartisan border deal. Then I want to get your reaction to this as well. Let's play the clip.
But you give illegal taxpayer-funded lawyers, so they have millions of dollars in this agreement, in this deal, which we, by the way, killed. I think we killed it. I think it's dead. But you can never say it because bad bills always come back to life because these guys make a lot of money with bad bills. But they give millions, tens of millions of dollars, it's down there, to lawyers to represent the illegal immigrants that come into our country. It's not even believable.
What's your reaction to that?
Donald Trump brags that he killed the border bill. You know what also is dead that Donald Trump killed? The Republican Party. And so in the hearing yesterday, I was done with the bullshit where I was told that, their objection on the Republican side was some sort of policy objection. It's not a policy objection. It's everything that they've ever asked for on a border security deal, except Donald Trump, a little light went on in his little head that if Democrats and Republicans work together to take on, issues at the border, then he can't run on that. And again, we know Donald Trump is running because of Donald Trump. He sees this as an election that will make his criminal cases go away, and he is not held accountable. And so he needs the border issue. He doesn't need a border solution. And I think we need to keep reminding the public that we are in the solutions business, and they are in the Trump business. And the Trump business only brings chaos to the country and personal benefits to Donald Trump.
You also said to your colleagues on the other side of the aisle, who are really unrecognizable at this point as actual Republicans. I mean, they're just kind of MAGA now. You basically said, it just must, like, what is your day like? Like, you must just like hate yourself and just wake up every day saying, oh, what does Daddy Trump want to tell us to do today? Can you expound on that a little bit?
It's occurred to me that these guys see themselves as completely helpless, and they feel very tiny and very small when they look at Donald Trump, and they feel like he's just going to squish them and crush them if they don't go along. So, like little ants, they just follow him wherever he asks them to go without asking any questions. That's why the Republican Party is dead. It's gone. No one is bringing it back. It is now Donald Trump's party, and we just must draw the contrast over the next 8 months, that we can have competence or we can have chaos. We can have governing or we can have ruling. We can't have both, and that's why it's so important tonight, for Joe Biden in this opening statement to make that clear. And Ben, I just want to frame this. We have this week, we know who the Republican nominee is. It's Donald Trump. And so this is essentially the opening statement tonight for the next 8 months about what President Biden will do. He'll get a closing argument at our convention in August. But tonight, he really gets to kick off, what he's done, what he will do, and the sharp contrast of the attacks on freedom that would come from another Donald Trump term.
I don't think this gets enough attention, but, Donald Trump and your Republican colleagues, we'll just call them the party of Donald Trump now, they don't do the national anthem anymore. They have a new song. They've taken this is true. They've taken the national anthem. They've changed the lyrics to it. They've butchered our national anthem. And now they call it not making this up, the Spirit of J6. And it is a song. It somewhat sounds like the anthem, but with Donald Trump and the insurrectionists. And then Donald Trump goes out on these traveling fascist circus events that he does. He has the audience pledge allegiance to the J6ers and then brags about how much downloads the song gets. Let me just play the clip so that people out there watching don't go, oh, come on, man, you're just making this up. Here, play the clip.
You heard the J6 hostages, didn't you? You heard that. And I will tell you, there's never been in the history of our country a group of people treated the way they've been treated. They've done to people. You heard the hostages singing. That was the hostages. They're the J6 hostages, I call them, because they are hostages. They're policemen, they're firemen, they're accountants. They're lawyers in some cases. They're put in jail for extended periods of time, for very long periods of time. They're hostages. You heard them singing. You heard the spirit that they had? The spirit is unbelievable. That song became the #1 song.
I could have showed you multiple clips like that, but that's why I just showed you two. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, this is batty. It's just absolutely insane that Republicans have put aside their principles and instead are putting everything behind one self-centered, corrupt, confused, and incompetent individual. And that's why this, what we're going to face in November, it's not really about two individuals. It's about an idea. It's about the idea of freedom and whether we still want it, or if we want to turn it all over, to a cult leader who would put himself first and everyone else last. And it's insane to listen to those clips and to think that is the Republican Party nominee.
And look, I know that the paradigm, if you will, in politics in America has been, you got the Democrats, you've got the Republicans, and then you have liberals and you have conservatives. But I'm with you. This has all been turned on its head with Donald Trump and the Republican Party going full MAGA. I just think those labels not only are a misnomer, but do a great disservice to what's really happening, where it's pro-democracy and MAGA. And you don't have to take my word for it. I mean, this is what Donald Trump goes out and says. He says, if you're not 100% MAGA, we don't want you. We don't want Nikki Haley's. We don't want Mitt Romney's. We don't want anyone who has a modicum of not being an utter cultist. Here, play this clip of Trump, and let's get your reaction, Congress.
And they say, always trying to demean, well, MAGA really represents 48% of the Republican Party. No, it represents 96% and maybe 100%. We're getting rid of the Romneys of the world. We want to get Romneys and those out.
What's your reaction?
MAGA may be 96% of the Republican Party, but the ceiling is rapidly falling. I mean, this guy truly, I mean, he saw in 10 of the largest counties in Michigan, his primary opponent receive over 30%. And a good chunk of those folks who voted for Nikki Haley said they are never voting for Donald Trump. So he may, want to throw a parade that as the ceiling comes down and his base gets smaller, that they are more and more loyal to him. And I guess just shame on us if we can't figure out a way, to put together a coalition of Democrats, never Trumpers, always, Americans, as we go into this upcoming election to make sure that we preserve and renew democracy.
And finally, Congressman, we're moments away from the State of the Union. What's your kind of final message to all the Meidas Mighty watching this, to the American people out there? I mean, there are a lot of people who watch this who, previously identified as Republican, a lot of independents, and of course, people who identify progressive and liberal. But people watch this network, and I think the expansion of the MeidasTouch network has been, this is pro-democracy. As long as you want to support normalcy and support pro-democracy, this is the network for you. So what's your message to everybody watching this right now?
For the State of the Union tonight, I hope the Meidas Network viewers take away that this is a freedom election. And it doesn't matter what your political party is. It's really a matter of, do you want freedom, or are you going to give it up to Donald Trump for his own self-interest and self-benefits? And by the way, don't be pessimistic when you see that Donald Trump is up in a poll here or winning in a state there. Donald Trump has been a loser ever since November 2016. He was rejected in the midterms in 2018 when Speaker Pelosi won the House. He was rejected in 2020 when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were elected and we won the Senate and kept the House. He was rejected in 22 when the big red wave was coming and we added a seat to the Senate and avoided that red wave in the House. And he's been rejected anytime he's been on any ballot of consequence. And so I would rather be us than them. And so don't be demoralized. We've got one big battle ahead, but we have a chance to allow, democracy. If it can live long enough, it can live forever. And that means it has to survive this test to bury MAGAism this upcoming November. And it starts tonight with the president putting that out.
And we appreciate your leadership to that extent. Thank you so much, Congressman. We appreciate you joining us. That was Congressmember Eric Swalwell. Soon I'll be bringing in Anthony Scaramucci. Before do want to talk about this pro-democracy, pro-freedom message, and not just message, in action that I think President Biden has been doing and will be talking about. It was highlighted in a recent article by the Washington Post about where will Nikki Haley's supporters go now that she has dropped out. And it talks about how 37% of Nikki Haley voters say that they will vote for President Biden. And this article highlights people like Nick Gamble, 21, from Chester, Virginia. I actually reached out to Nick as well. I hope to have him on a future show. He and I have been exchanging some messages. I was really inspired by his story. He goes, I don't know if I can even identify as a Republican if or when Trump is the nominee. I have no intention of voting for him if he's the nominee. I'd vote for Biden, he says, begrudgingly. I don't want to have to do it, but if I have to, I will, just to send a message that Trump's bad. He can't be anywhere near the White House again. But I do hope that the pro-democracy messaging from President Biden, and President Biden showing what a great leader he is, will resonate to people like Nick and others out there. And we're going to see that in action tonight. I want to remind everybody as well that we will soon begin our official pre-coverage of the State of the Union at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. And if you just stay in this chat, you will be sent over there. So all you have to do is stay here in this YouTube, and then you'll be directed to the official pre-coverage. Let's take our last quick break of the show. If you're listening to the show, I can guarantee you're a news junkie just like me and my brothers. There's so much to keep up with. Believe me, I know. That's why the Washington Post is one of my go-to reads when it comes to catching up on the most important events of the day. This podcast is sponsored by the Washington Post. The Washington Post helps you go deeper on the news that matters to you. Their journalists bring you the facts and clarity about what's happening in the economy, on climate change, foreign policy, and other coverage that I use the Washington Post for. So whether it's updates on those topics or even things like dinner recipes, the Washington Post subscription has something for every type of news reader. Stories that explain the world, teach you something, and inspire you. I really enjoy the Washington Post's coverage on issues like the climate, on tech, and food. That's how I utilize the Washington Post. And I find their app to be sleek and easy to use and allows me to save stories later and follow my favorite authors on those topics. And if you need a pick-me-up like I think we all do, check out the Inspired Life section that documents human moments and acts of kindness. And I'm pretty confident it will restore your faith in humanity. A Washington Post subscription makes it easy to access quality, trustworthy journalism, and it's affordable too. So go to WashingtonPost.com/Meidas to subscribe for just 50 cents per week your first year. That's 80% better than their typical offer. So it's truly a steal. Once again, that's WashingtonPost.com/Meidas and subscribe for just 50 cents per week for your first year.
Sleep is the foundation of our mental and physical health. When you're sleeping well, you can perform at your best mentally and physically. Proper sleep can also increase focus, boost energy, and improve your mood. Introducing Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep. If you know me, you know that Dream has been an absolute game changer for my sleep. Sometimes I find myself up at night in bed with my thoughts and uneasiness. Well, that's not the case anymore because I started to drink Beam's Dream Powder. Prior to Beam's Dream Powder, the poor sleep and late nights staying up really affected my mood and energy, but not anymore. And today, our listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream Powder. Their science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Now available in delicious flavors like chocolate peanut butter, cinnamon cocoa, and sea salt caramel with only 15 calories and 0 grams of sugar. Better sleep has never tasted better. Other sleep aids can cause next-day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, melatonin, and nano-CBD to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed. The numbers don't lie. In a clinical study, 93% of participants reported Dream helped them get better sleep. Beam Dream is easy to add to your nighttime routine. Just mix Dream into hot water or milk, froth, and enjoy before bed. Find out why Forbes and New York Times are all talking about Beam and why it's trusted by the world's top athletes and business professionals. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Meidas and use code Meidas at checkout. That's BEAM.com/Meidas and use code Meidas for up to 40% off.
Welcome back to the MeidasTouch Podcast. Earlier, I got to connect with Anthony Scaramucci, who formerly did one Scaramucci with the Trump administration. I got to ask him his views about the state of the current election, the state of the union, the state of the economy. Let's play that interview right now. We are now joined by Anthony Scaramucci. Welcome to the show.
I love you guys. I'm happy to be on. Where's the brothers? What's going on? Is this you and me solo?
You know, I've taken over the show now. I mean, it's kind of a one-man band. No, I'm just joking. We're just going to do it now. They're all running around all over the place with State of the Union coverage. So it's a little bit of dividing and conquer, but I want to get your take on the State of the Union, just generally. Like, what do you believe the state of our union is? Is the state of our union strong? How would you characterize it?
Well, listen, it's obvious that the State of the Union is strong. Definitionally, the economy is growing. Wages are growing. You have low unemployment. and you have people that are looking for jobs that are getting jobs. So if you look at the economic dashboard of the State of the Union, the vital signs there are good. Underneath the surface, however, you do have some things that have to be addressed by President Biden. Topic number one is crime, or the appearance of crime, or the perception of crime. So it's one thing to cite low crime statistics like Mayor Adams is citing, and that may in fact be accurate, but it doesn't feel that way to people. People feel unsafe, particularly if a conductor in the subway is getting his neck slashed by a repeat offender of subway crimes. And so if you're putting the National Guard as an example in the New York subway system, you're giving the perception that we can't police the city and the government has lost control and it's turned it over to the criminals. We don't want New York City to turn into Gotham. Okay, so those are underlying things that the president has to address. And then the last piece of this is the border. Now, the president has a right to say, hey, listen, I gave these guys everything that they wanted on the border and they won't sign the deal. They're doing that for political expedient purposes. Makes everybody feel very cynical about politicians. But he could reverse some of the executive orders that he put in place in January and February of 2021, which would help slow down some of the transit at the border. I just want to make one last quick point. I'm doing well, stock market's up. But the man on the street is feeling the prices of eggs, feeling the prices of milk, and they feel tense. They have anxiety about the economy. And so I'm very, very hopeful that the president will explain to those people to sit tight as we grow out of the COVID situation. By November, they're going to be sitting pretty and they won't want to replace them.
You know, one of the things that we hear from people who have read excerpts of the speech, or just in Democratic leaders in general, you know, Republicans used to say freedom, freedom, freedom. And now it seems that the Democratic Party, or more just the pro-democracy party, as I've been calling it now in general, is really taking that mantle of freedom and making it clear that under this MAGA mutation or this MAGA mess, it's all about taking away your freedoms. What do you think about that messaging?
Well, yeah, but it's even more than that. So what happened here is this like lunatic personality that had it was almost like looking into a kaleidoscope. You could see different things, or, the way the blind man's looking at an elephant. We all saw different things in Donald Trump in 2016. And so some of us mistakenly joined forces with him and saw him more as a moderate figure. He went to Elton John's wedding. We all saw different things. But then you had 4 years of him and 4 years of this complete insanity. And so now all good people, all principled people are speaking out against him, and all principled people, whether it's a Liz Cheney, an Adam Kinzinger, a Mark Esper, are saying, no way, no how. I may not be a Democrat, but I can't accept Donald Trump. I'll deal with Joe Biden's policies, even if I disagree with them, because he stands for what you just said, freedom and the institutions of our democracy. Now, you have Trump people saying they want to expand executive power. You have Donald Trump saying that he wants to go after people that are his political adversaries, and he wants to take people like you or me, our free speech away. He'll pull FCC licenses from people that disagree with him. Now, you got to take that seriously, because other things that he has said, he has seriously acted upon. So I think that this is a cult of personality that hijacked the Republican Party. You got a bunch of weasels on the side of the Republicans, okay? I mean, Mitch McConnell, come on, my man, get the turtle back in the shell. What are you doing? You know that this is a miscreant, and you know this guy's very bad for the United States, but yet you're endorsing. He was running to kill you on the 6th of January. He's on the phone fomenting an insurrection. And your viewers and listeners know this, but it's worth repeating. It's not a Soros-sponsored DA going after Donald Trump. It's Mark Meadows, the White House chief of staff, a white Southern Christian who ran the Freedom Caucus in the House of Representatives, is the chief witness. So this guy's got you running for your lives on the 6th of January. McConnell, McCarthy, Pelosi, you could have put them right through the ropes on the 7th of January, and the country could be healing from the mess that is Donald Trump. But this is telling you, MeidasTouch people, listen up. You can have a cult of personality in the country. You can have American nativists hijack one of the two parties of the country and do unbelievable damage to the American experiment. So we got to get out there and we have to explain that to people, which I fully intend on doing. And it's going to be a tight election, but Joe Biden's going to win the election. I just think Mr. Trump has gotten so much media attention because of Super Tuesday that some people in some quarters think otherwise. But this will be a night for the president to shine. I think the people are underestimating the president. They're trying to depict him as elderly and frail. I'm not saying that he's not a little slower at age 81. Who wouldn't be? But I think he's in way more command of things and way sharper than people are giving him credit for. In a lot of ways, he's sharper than Donald Trump. That can't even remember his wife's name in a speech. So,
and as President Biden says, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. So let's just do that now. I mean, I could pick any number of these clips from whatever it even is. Donald Trump's not even giving speeches. Like, he basically goes on stage now and just says a bunch of noises, ding dong, boosh, ding dong. It's very weird. Let me just show you. Let me show you just two of these moments. And again, you've been around him, so you know what he was like back in 2016, 2017, you know what he was like then. Let me show you these clips. And was it anything what he was like then? So here is Trump short circuiting at the last event that he did over the weekend. Play this clip.
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your.
And then over here, he talks about how he likes to do things like that. He likes to make mistakes and call Biden Obama and Nikki Haley Pelosi. It's part of his interposing, he says. Let me just let me show you this.
He can't read. You know that he has a reading disability. That's one of the problems there. But okay, keep going.
Let me show you this clip right here. Let's play this clip.
But when I say that Obama is the president of our country, they go, he doesn't know that's Biden. He doesn't know. So it's very hard to be sarcastic. When I interpose, because I'm not a Nikki fan and I'm not a Pelosi fan, and when I purposely interpose names, they said he didn't know Pelosi from Nikki, from Tricky Nikki. He didn't know. I interpose, and they make a big deal out of it. I said, no, I think they both stink. They have something in common. They both stink. And remember this. When I make a statement like that about Nikki, that means she will never be running for vice president. She will never be running for vice president. Remember.
Okay, that's misogyny, though, right there. I mean, so just so your viewers and listeners, I know the SOB, he's trying to say that these are lame dames. Okay, I'll use a 1940s anachronistic saying. And so I hope that the Biden administration captures that clip and plays it over and over to suburban housewives and suburban women who the president does not take seriously. Because what he's trying to say is that all of these quote unquote lame dames, or I could use more pejoratives, but I don't want to, are the same to him. You see what I mean? And so it's gross, man.
One of the things he does also, and I don't think this has gotten attention, but could you imagine if Biden or somebody else was doing this? So, Trump doesn't really play the national anthem anymore. He created his own version of it that he butchers, and he calls the spirit of the J6 insurrectionists. And so when you go to a Trump event, you pledge and you put your hand on your heart, and then they play the J6 anthem. They don't play, they play the J6 anthem, which is, again, a distorted version of the national anthem. And then he brags about it. So play this clip, and again, could you imagine if this would be front page news everywhere, but it's not when Trump does something like this.
But this is right out of the Nazi playbook. I mean, we got to call it for what it is. This is America First movement with Charles Lindbergh and Father Coughlin in Madison Square Garden in the late 30s. But go ahead, play it.
They've done to people. You heard the hostages singing. That was the hostages. They're the J6 hostages, I call them, because they are hostages. They're policemen, they're firemen, they're accountants. They're lawyers in some cases. They're put in jail for extended periods of time, for very long periods of time. They're hostages. You heard them singing. You heard the spirit that they had? the spirit is unbelievable. That song became the #1 song, and you.
So listen, guys, I appreciate you guys like you can't believe, because we got to get the message out there, and unfortunately our system, we've created a lot of cynicism in the system. And Ben, the most powerful voting group in the United States, it's 144 million people. It's a very large voting bloc. They vote the exact same way in every election. The most powerful voting bloc, that's the non-voter. Okay, they've elected not to vote. And so in presidential elections, we bring out 50% of the vote and we call it heroic. My job, your job, other people that really love the country is to go find those people and say, excuse me, there's a 911 call. It's coming from inside the house of the American people. And we have to fix this. And we have to get more moderate, more normal people over the transom of voting to reject this type of nonsense. And, and I'm going to restate that, to reject this type of traitorous nonsense. Donald Trump fomented that insurrection. Donald Trump would have accepted power if they figured out a way to revoke the election of 2020. And if he had the support of the American military, we would have had an effective coup in the country after 250 plus glorious years of that Constitution, or 240 years of that Constitution. It's really disgusting, actually.
You famously called out Kevin McCarthy here on the MeidasTouch Network over a year ago, and you pretty much predicted where everything was going to be going with Kevin McCarthy. What would your message be to him now, but also more broadly to MAGA Mike Johnson and this current group?
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Tim Scott, first of all. Okay, you know better. Okay. You came to the Mitt Romney event in Park City, Utah, and you know better. Okay, so how could you throw all your principles out the window for Donald Trump? Kevin McCarthy doesn't know better. He is a spineless jellyfish. And as I pointed out on your show, I mean, he aged like 500 years as a result of selling his soul to Donald Trump. But I hear he's flying around on the Trump plane, lobbying to be the Trump chief of staff in the new Trump administration. Well, Kevin, I got news for you. That's never happening, because Donald Trump's about to go on the ash heap of history come November of 2024. And we will be working tirelessly to make that happen. And then when he's smoked, which he will be, we'll have to figure out a way to rebuild the Republican Party that you personally put in shambles. Because you had the opportunity, you had the power and the flex to put this guy lights out and to reorder the Republican Party and to get these banana heads in line, and you failed to do that. And so somebody's going to be writing about you in 50 years that you were a disgrace to your country.
What do you make of MAGA Mike Johnson, who has replaced him?
I mean, no, he's like a ridiculous guy. It's like if Joel Osteen had a baby with Jim Jordan, it would be Mike Johnson. I mean, come on. I mean, this guy's like an absolute ridiculous guy. And the thing about Mike Johnson, he's just trying to figure out how many Scaramucci's he's going to last, right? Because Scaramucci's are 11-day time units. McCarthy lasted 24.5 Scaramucci's. Johnson knows that the clock is ticking on him. He'll never be able to stay in that position. Number one, they probably will keep the House, actually. But I mean, if they lose the House, he's gone. But they'll kill him from the inside because they have no order and they have no strong leader to knit that thing together. It could have been McCarthy. If he put Trump through the ropes, he could have gone to all those other people and said, knock it off. Okay. And all that Trump MAGA nonsense would have died down. But he didn't have the strength to do it.
Finally, and you've touched on this a few times in this interview, there's a lot of noise out there. Media polls this, polls that. Again, you worked one Scaramucci in the Trump administration. You are a Republican. You know the party. You know the inner workings of it. You're very confident. And look, we should all not be overconfident. We need to get out there and vote.
No, we got to work on this. No, when I say he's going to lose, it's because we're going to make him lose, Ben. Okay. I'm not going to sit back and pretend he's going to lose just because he's going to lose. No, we're going to make him lose. But you have to understand something. He's hated by a very large group of Republicans. They feel that he is the one that hijacked the party of Ronald Reagan and took something away from people that they thought was valorous. You may not like me as a Republican, but you would respect my love of country, and you would respect my principles, and you would respect my need to reach a consensus with you. What did Ronald Reagan say? Let me go for 100%. I'm going to get 80 sometimes. Once in a while, I'm going to have to cede on 20 or perhaps more percent. That's how the founders set the thing up. So you may not agree with me on policy, but at least you respect my love of country and my ability to try to reach a consensus. Mr. Trump is trying to blow up the system. He is a terrorist. Okay. And this is something that we really have to explain to the American people. Now, he will lose because he cannot get the crossover vote. It's very evident from all the polls. Super Tuesday was Super Disaster Tuesday for him. He's got a very good, very sharp, disciplined campaign staff. They know it. We know it. They're looking at the data. They're saying, man, this is going to be very rough. This is Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. She didn't get enough crossover votes from the Sanders loyalists to win the election. Donald Trump is in that position right now. And of course, Joe Biden, whatever his strengths and weaknesses are, he has a unified party behind him.
We are moments away from the State of the Union. Always great to have you on the show. Any final words you want to give out there? We got a big audience right now. Anything you want to say?
Big audience. Listen to me. Have faith. Love your country. You be optimistic, but you got to go to work here. Okay. If you really love your country, you got to look around you to left and right. I guarantee you there are people that have not voted in the last presidential election, or perhaps are haphazard in their voting. But if they love the country the way you do, bring them to the polls in November. Okay, and let's upset this apple cart so that we can disintegrate MAGA and end this nonsense that's really hurting the country.
Anthony Scaramucci, thank you so much for joining us this
Good
evening.
to be here.
And folks, we are just 90 minutes away from the State of the Union. And now our official State of the Union coverage begins. It begins on another link on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. For those in the channel right now, you don't have to do anything. You just stay here. As soon as this feed ends, it'll bring you into our other channel where we will be starting our State of the Union coverage there. A special thanks to DNC Chair Jamie Harrison, to Congress Member Eric Swalwell, as well as Anthony Scaramucci for joining us today on the MeidasTouch Podcast. And let's now start our official pre-coverage of the State of the Union on the other feed. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And Jordy, take it away.
The night is young, folks. Shout out to the Midas Mighty.
The Midas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.